Welcome to Football or Soccer, the podcast. I am Sam Palmer.
I'm Tony Taafe.
How are you?
I'm actually mourning a loss today. I'm mourning a big loss. And just before we start, I think we should have a moment of silence to mourn the loss and also in respect of the comedy that we've been provided by Erik over the last few years. And
Yeah.
this is where you flash the graphics of Liverpool 7, Manchester United 0, Manchester United 0, Liverpool 5, because a good man has gone down.
I've got a group of lads who are Liverpool. They've got Liverpool fans on it, and since that day they call him Seven Hag, which it makes me laugh. They use it every time, Seven Hag, and no one wanted him sacked. But he has. We're going to get to this later. But the big breaking news for us waking up this morning is Erik ten Hag has been given the boot from Manchester United. He's been coming for a long time.
Mate, how has he lasted this long?
I don't actually know. Do you know what we're going to do? I think we're going to have to get to this because obviously things have changed. We're going to bring this around. Let's start. I want to just start before we go into that news because there's a couple of big breaking stories today as well that have literally just happened. Also, we're filming this.
Right?
Yeah, we're filming this Monday morning here in LA, and Tony's in Scottsdale. Ballon d'Or, I think, is being announced in the next couple of hours of filming. So as this comes out, the result will be there. But the big news is the favourite, Vinicius Jr, has not travelled to the ceremony. Neither has anybody from Real Madrid. In the fact that he must know that he's not won.
Who's won that?
I would think it's Rodri.
Do you know what?
It's funny. Before we said it, I think a lot of people would have agreed with Rodri. Actually,
yeah, I would agree with Rodri.
But I think because he's been injured this year, like this season now, and Vinny has actually gone on and put in some amazing performances in these first 10 games.
It's based on the previous season, really, isn't it?
It is, and it shouldn't really come down to this. But look, Vinny did just win Champions League as well.
He wins it every year.
And we'll get to that because I think what a week he's had actually. He's had a mixed week actually, but he had an amazing Champions League match this week where they beat 5. They were 2-0 down against Dortmund and ended up winning 5-2. He scored a hat-trick. But I think we'll get to that. I just want to say before we start, thank you to everyone for listening to the first show.
Yeah.
Feedback's been great, hasn't it?
Hey, I was surprised.
I've had a lot of people message to say really, really enjoy it, really enjoy the insights. Obviously, the first one's a bit different because you kind of got to explain what it is. So there was a bit less structure. I think we'll probably have a bit more structure. People will kind of see what we're about, what we're going to do going forward. But plus, also, it'll change as we go along. And
it will, of course. And like today, I mean, you sent me the list of what we're going to, the bullet points. And then Ten Hag
kind of goes out the window.
It goes out the window.
This has been a big week of sport as well. Like there has been so many games this week. To be honest with you, I don't know why I've taken this new job on the podcasting because I've watched a hell of amount of sport this week. I'm making notes for the podcast. It's like it's become actually a bit of a job on top of the full-time job and full-time father, and it's just something else I needed to do.
I mean, what do we have? So we had the Clasico.
Well, we've had the Champions League, a whole week of Champions League,
which
is pretty much a whole week of
Villa. Top of the Champions League group table is wild in itself.
Villa again. That's 3 wins out of 3 for Villa in the Champions League. They're top of the league. And I think actually it's good to explain to people who maybe newer fans how big of a club Aston Villa actually is.
Oh, they're huge. Huge.
They've won the European Championship years ago.
The European Cup.
And the European, sorry, not European Championship, European Cup, but before it was the Champions League. And a lot of people wouldn't realise what Villa is. I suppose Villa in our lifetime have never been huge. They've been close to kind of pushing for Europe. This is probably the best they've been for a sustained amount, a couple of seasons
this
now.
This is the best they've been, I would say, since the Mark Bosnich days.
Remember but even then, were they pushing for the... they were probably in the fourth. They were in about there. Yeah, so I think in the early 90s or mid 90s, that's where they were. Dwight York up front, Mark Bosnich, Andy Townsend. That would have been their team, wouldn't it?
By the way, I love listening to him when he's doing commentary.
I don't mind Townsend either. Ugo Egiog.
Ugo Egiog
passed away, I think, didn't he? Ugo Egiog. Yeah, I think he did. He was at Spurs as well. He passed away, young as well. So Villa, they've won 2-0 again in the week, and John Duran scored again. And this was a guy I've been following closely because in the summer, West Ham looked nailed on to sign him. He even done, in his Instagram Live, he done this, didn't he? And irritated everyone.
Why?
Yeah, and it was done. And then since
then...
he
did it because he was going to sign for West Ham?
Yeah, it was done. Basically, the deal looked like it was done. I think they wanted an extra $5 million. We wouldn't pay it. And it looks like we have massively cocked up because this guy has not stopped scoring. Yeah. And they have got two brilliant strikers with Watkins and
Ollie Watkins him. Is superb. But it feels like he's having a bit of an off start of the season, doesn't it? He hasn't been.
It does, but he scored at the weekend, I think. But he I think because Duran is doing so well, I think he's probably getting the headlines a little bit more. Yeah. So I think there is that. I've also seen Arsenal are linked with Duran now. I don't think there's any chance of West Ham, and I would think he is going to command a big.
Arsenal needs someone who can score goals.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good player. But we'll get on to so obviously we had Real Madrid 2-0 down at half time, and then went on to win 5-2 in the second half with a hat trick from Vinicius, and I thought that was a pretty good lead into obviously the Ballon d'Or. That's something worth discussing. Is Vinicius the best player in the world now?
He's the person who, if I could if I could bring any player into Liverpool, it'd be him.
I think he probably is. It's funny because Mbappe's signing so far has been a little bit under. Listen, it's 9 games or whatever.
But you know what? I think PSG is a death knell for some players. I mean, I know. So when I say this, I'm specifically thinking about Neymar, who I think was a terrible decision for him to sign for PSG. And I know Mbappe signed for PSG when he was 17.
Very young, yeah.
Kid. But I don't know. I've never really seen it. I've seen it in odd matches or games with Neymar. With Mbappe, but I've never really seen him. Like, remember the original Ronaldo, right? Remember that World Cup, France '98?
Yeah.
He won that World Cup for them. France won the World Cup. He got them.
They lost the World Cup final, so he did. 2002.
Took them all the way there.
And then 2002, he won it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Mbappe has never done it, and I would compare Mbappe to R9, the original Ronaldo, and say there's no contest there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird with Mbappe. He's clearly talented. Like, he's unbelievable with what he can do. He's clearly talented and has got everything.
Of course, yeah.
There was a lot about will he, and he stayed for money, don't want to go for more money. And maybe he's one of these new breed of players like Neymar that actually they're playing for big money. They're not playing because they love football, maybe, and that's probably the difference.
Do you know what? My instinct, and this is just instinct. Obviously, I have no real information on it. But my instinct is Mbappe's a proper football player who you don't see him on every other commercial. You don't see him advertising silly stuff like you do with Neymar, you know,
Yeah.
where you do with certain players who are obviously still hugely talented, but I don't know. I would hate for him to go to waste at Real Madrid.
I think he's got
He's
time to put it
terrible.
through. The problem is with Madrid, you just don't get time either. And probably that's a good one to take us on. Oh, well, actually, just rounding up the rest of the Champions League earlier in the week, we had an Arsenal win, we had a Liverpool win, which was all quite standard. PSG drew 1-1 again, not going too well in the Champions League, sort of mentioned them. And Bayern were thrashed 4-1 by Barca. Now, Barca have had some week. Rafinha with a hat-trick in that game.
Where did they come from again? Because they dropped off big time, and now it seems this season.
Yeah, it's weird. And I look at their team, and Lewandowski's older. Rafinha, we kind of look at him and go, this is a guy that played for Leeds. Would he have got in a City or anything? No, I don't think so. In actual fact, I don't think he was even being talked about by any of the top clubs in England. He went to sort of Barca. He's doing really well. Maybe some people actually missed out on someone there. Yeah. But this kid they got there, Lamine Yamal. This kid is 17.
Is that the same one that they had to get clearance for him to play in Germany? Is that same one or no?
He was young. He was 16, 17 in the Euros, which he just won.
Yeah, and in German law was like they couldn't. 16-year-old can't work past 8 p.m.
Oh, because of
yeah, because he's a fucking
kids
kid. He's a child.
Rules, yeah.
Yeah, and so they had to get clearance for him to play in the final, basically.
I've got to say, this kid looks the real deal.
Yeah,
and I suppose that takes us on. We may as well cover El Clasico this week.
Yeah,
obviously, Barca have absolutely spanked Real Madrid, which doesn't go down well, especially there. But it was 4-0. Lamine Yamal scored. Lewandowski's got a couple.
Watch it? I didn't watch it, but I saw.
I watched it. I watched parts. I was watching a lot of it, but I was actually taking the kids out for lunch as well. So I was on the way back from my boys' soccer, and I had it sort of on in a little screen on the phone and the sound right up while I had the maps on, guiding me back home. And then we went to Mel's Diner and had some lunch, and I had it on the table. So I was kind of watching it and but on a phone as much as you can watch it, and driving. So I was listening to it. But they were absolutely spanked, Real Madrid. And you look at it and think, wow, what a week. I think it's Hansi Flick is the manager there now.
Oh, Barca, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, of Barca. Yeah. He's done Bayern Munich and Real Madrid in the same week, scoring 8 goals and conceding 1.
Yeah, and don't forget when they got rid of the Xavi, right?
Yeah.
Who's being linked with Man United now. But they got rid of Xavi and then appointed Flick, and it was a very uninspiring choice at the time. It was like,
it was, and it's funny.
It was not something that was exciting for Barcelona.
No, and it's funny. I've never been a huge follower of Spanish football. I made sure I watched it this week because of this pod, to be honest with you, because I know that a lot of people in the US love Barca and Real Madrid. Yeah. So I thought, you know what, I'll watch it. I always keep an eye, but I don't watch too much of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I'm not watching Getafe versus Sevilla.
I'm definitely not going to be watching that one. But I thought I'll watch it. El Clasico, good game, and it didn't disappoint. It was great to watch. Yeah. So that was, I think, obviously Real Madrid they've got a lot to do, and it looks like Ancelotti, Real Madrid, if you don't win the league or Champions League, you get fired.
At Madrid, yeah, you don't.
So he could be available.
You know, I was thinking about this today, specifically about Ancelotti. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But he got fired when he won the Premier League and the FA Cup with Chelsea. He did the double and got
Yeah, and
five.
then next season, yeah.
No,
And then I think a few games into,
after.
I think he went to next season, but
Did he? Are you sure?
yeah, I'm pretty certain.
I was thinking about that today because I was obviously thinking about Madrid, and I was like, man, if Madrid don't win everything, he's toast.
Yeah, which is crazy. But he's the most decorated manager of all time, I think, isn't he, Ancelotti?
I think he's.
Well,
I think he's
I'm saying that, but he's won the Champions League, players, managers, different teams with AC Milan, with Real Madrid.
With AC Milan as a player.
I think he won it twice as a player,
Yeah.
and I think he won it twice as a manager with them as well.
Milan. Yeah, I know.
Actually, Amrit, if you can Google that, Carlo Ancelotti, find out how many times he's won the Champions League with as player and manager. So
yeah, I know.
Producer Amrit is going to get that. I want to give the complete fact because it is incredible. Because I googled this the other day. I actually looked at it.
Yeah,
I think before we go on to the Premiership.
What's that?
I think before we go on to the Premiership today, I think we should probably put in. Oh, Amrit's put his hand up here. Go on, Amrit. 5 times and 2 as a player. 5 times the manager, 2 as a player. That's incredible.
We won it 3 times with Madrid. With Milan.
Yeah.
And how many times with Madrid then?
And he lost twice with Madrid, hasn't he? He's done it once in the first time, once in the second time. And then Zidane took on the team, didn't he?
That's amazing.
I think before we go into the Premier League this week, I think we should do the segment now on Man United. Erik ten Hag has gone. Right, moving on. Before I think we go into the Premier League this week, I think we need to go address the big news. Erik ten Hag has gone as Manchester United boss. The writing's been on the wall for a long time. I think we need to talk about, and I think discuss to viewers as well, maybe younger people. Man United is a shambles now, but this is, for anyone that doesn't understand, them and Real Madrid are the biggest club in the world. So you might be a newer fan and actually see City and you've seen this, but our lifetime, mine and Tony's lifetime, Manchester United are the most successful team in Britain. As much as Tony hates this because he's a Liverpool fan, and they were that of the 70s, 80s.
Depends what you define as the most successful team in Britain. Because the most successful team in Britain, well, in England, sorry, not Britain, because you've got...
No, I said in our lifetime.
Yeah, in our lifetime. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and as I said, in the 70s, 80s, Liverpool were that. Then the 90s came, a manager called Sir Alex Ferguson came along, and a group of players that were all homegrown, the class of 92, and they dominated British football for 2 decades.
Yeah, ruined my childhood, those.
And people. Since that day that Alex Ferguson gave up, which I think was 2013, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Since then, Manchester United have never won the league again. And it seems, to be honest with you, I don't know, you don't feel this, but for me, I get quite, and I'm not a Manchester United fan, I'm a West Ham fan, I get quite sad to see a giant of football looking the way it does. I think it's bad for the Premier League. Same as like when Liverpool were in the Hodgson era and they had lesser players playing for them. And I don't mean any disrespect for these players, but like Konchesky, Ricky Lambert, them sort of players playing for Liverpool. And it was, you looked at it and it just a bit sad because unfortunately you need the big teams because they make it better.
Big teams, yeah. Which is the thing about Man City right now, you know.
Yeah.
I obviously, apart from them being from Manchester, and that's a natural rivalry, obviously, to Liverpool, just in a City space. The thing about City is, if they're the best team in the world, which they probably are, right? Them or Madrid. It's actually good for the Premier League.
Yeah.
but I still don't want them to be the best, the best team in the world. I want Liverpool to be the best team in the world. End the story. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you mean. If there's a giant like Man United, it is kind of sad, and you know what? That's actually probably the biggest insult a Man United fan can take from a Liverpool fan is I almost feel a little bit sorry for them.
They're when I say so far away
Oh,
from challenging for the league.
so far.
They're
Dropped
further
way
away
more
than Brighton.
What's that?
They're further away than Brighton. Like that's how. Like I think Brighton are a much better team. I think they're a much better run club.
Yeah, yeah.
With nowhere near the funds. Erik ten Hag has spent nearly $1 billion.
600 million he spent.
650, isn't it? I think it is.
650.
And now we have to go through because a lot of these managers don't make the signings. So, but let's go through since Alex Ferguson. We've had David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ralph Rangnick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ryan Giggs for a little bit. All these people couldn't get close. And you look back now and you go, well, actually, Mourinho didn't do well and didn't do bad. Solskjaer didn't do bad. I think he came second one year. But they were never really in it. But they were around.
Yeah.
How has it got? And then obviously in the summer, Jim Ratcliffe has bought into Manchester United. A huge overhaul of this club has gone on, which seems like I don't know what on earth they were trying to do. They looked for a manager everywhere, couldn't get one, kept Erik ten Hag. See, it was an accident waiting to happen. Everyone at the club kind of knew it. Everyone in the media knew it. And then they let him spend more, whether it's him or the new scouting systems.
They got that sporting director from Newcastle, didn't he? In the summer.
Yeah, Dan Ashworth, I think, isn't it?
Ashworth. So you would imagine that whoever's going to come in next is going to be told, listen, these are the players that you're working with. Let's get to the summer and then we'll see where we are. And then you can maybe spend some money. But those signings in the summer, I would imagine, was Ben Ashworth's signings because it was clear that they didn't really have faith in Ten Hag. Otherwise, they would be flying all over the world interviewing managers. And you know what? I think they really lost out by letting Pochettino go to the US.
And Thomas Tuchel to England.
Well, him as well.
They've lost two amazing managers.
What's that?
They've lost two amazing managers that would probably be in contention.
Two that I think if they were looking today would be at the top of the list.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think Pochettino would be perfect for United. I think he'd be perfect for them.
I don't know. And here's my thing to that. Obviously, the biggest thing with Pochettino, I actually love Pochettino as a manager. I think he's a great manager. Couldn't do it with Chelsea. And everyone said, well, Chelsea was a state, everything. Maresca's a man who with no experience in the Premiership has come in and made Chelsea. And I've got to say, I really like Chelsea this year. I think they're getting on with their job. I think they look a very good, young, hungry team. And I don't think Chelsea are far away now. I think they're probably a season or two away from really challenging for the league.
I was hoping for a Newcastle win yesterday just because I was hoping Chelsea are not on the up.
But yeah, so look, forget that anyway. Pochettino. I love Pochettino. I think all of a sudden, and we'll get to that, how do you change Manchester United? So Manchester United were an institution, right? There was rules in place. Alex Ferguson set them rules, and above him, Sir Bobby Charlton set them rules, and David Gill and whoever it was, they had a structure. The boss was the boss, and it filtered down to the players. And then you see people like Gary Neville, Roy Keane, David Beckham, who towed the line, but also sung from exactly the same hymn book. They were winners. Only winners belong at Manchester United. Nothing else is accepted. They have lost that mentality. And I was having this, and I think this is a football or soccer question coming up right now. Everyone says you can't treat the young players like that. Has anyone tried?
What do you mean, like what?
Like, I wonder if Manchester United, when we're resetting and going back to the old way, and maybe it's going to take us a couple of years or whatever, etc. But if they could have managed to implement, I think they need to implement the culture before they need to implement a manager and a style of play. I think they need all of that, because Ten Hag never had a style of play.
He never had an air of authority about him, did he? Like you never really cared about when Ten Hag was doing an interview. You didn't care. You'd never watch it unless it was funny.
No, because sometimes he'd come across as a buffoon.
Well, he'd just say things that didn't make any sense. You know, like this week. Earlier this week when they drew. Who did they draw against in Europe?
Drew against Fenerbahce, and he said drawing against Fenerbahce and Porto was great results. And
his post-match interview was, it just shows that we're hard to beat.
Yeah.
But Man United going to Fenerbahce, with all due respect to Fenerbahce, they're not Man United. You should not be happy with a draw against them. So,
and I think that's the difference of the Alex Ferguson mantra. Alex Ferguson would have come out and said, "This is not acceptable. We're Manchester United."
He would have said what he would have said. I mean, you know, Ferguson,
if the display was that bad, you know, like if they put on a display like they put on at West Ham at the weekend, we'll get to that. He would not have stood it. Maybe out on the media, he might have just said, "Listen, we've got to keep working," or whatever, which they're all going to say because they all do these. It's a shame, actually. Sometimes you wish managers would actually just say what they wanted to say and actually say, "You know what, we're disgusting. These players, they're not listening to me." But then you lose your job immediately. The manager goes for a player. It's never going to happen. But I think you need to reset the culture at Man United. I think there's clearly players that are being bought there that they're not bad players at all. But they're not coming in with that same hunger.
No, I don't even know how to explain what's happened at Man United, because it hasn't happened overnight, right? It's happened over the last 10 years,
yeah.
And people say even though Ferguson won the league in his last season, he didn't leave them in a good spot in terms of players. You know, most of the players, even though they were still good, they were really old. And then Moyes came in. I don't think Moyes was given enough time. I actually feel bad for Moyes now looking back at it, because I'm like, clearly somebody needed 5 years just to get them on an even keel. And they didn't have that patience for anybody, which is understandable because of the success they'd had previous. But it's going to take them, I would imagine. I mean, and do you know what? I just compare it to Liverpool, because I lived through my teenage years and most of my younger years lived through Liverpool doing exactly what Man United are trying to do now. And it took them, you know, Souness, Evans, even to the obviously we had Houllier and you know, it was actually Brendan Rodgers who put the wheels in motion. Like, listen, I respect this history, but we don't live there anymore. And Brendan Rodgers came close. We had obviously Roy Hodgson, which was a massive backward step, and then Rodgers and obviously Klopp took us over the line again.
But when I look at that, I know Ten Hag came from Ajax, but no one had heard of Ten Hag before Man United team, right? I look at that list. Ralph Rangnick.
I hadn't heard of Slot before either.
No, true, actually. Maybe that dispels a bit of what I'm about to say. Ralph Rangnick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, these people, they haven't I think to go into Manchester United, and I've heard Rio Ferdinand mention this before, that when Moisey went in, he said on that pre-season tour, he said that we came off of we got on the plane, and he said Moyes was sitting on the seat all dishevelled, and he went, "Cool, big club, this and that." And he said, as soon as he said that, I realised we had the wrong man. And
I think
maybe you need to go and get Ancelotti, a big name. You know, like someone who's handled. I know they've had Mourinho, but look at City. They went out and got Pep, the best manager in the world. They said, right, this is where we're going. We're going to offer him whatever we have to do because we are going to be the biggest team in the world, and this guy is going to make us it. Manchester United, the biggest. Real Madrid, they've gone and got Carlo Ancelotti. They're like, we're not doing this. Ralph Rangnicks and Ten Hags. We're not going down that route. Barcelona get a bit lucky sometimes, but because they're a little bit different, Barcelona, because they go within, don't they, with Enrique and Xavi and things like that. But they have a club philosophy with the Johan Cruyff method, which you can follow. The Pep, Johan, they've all followed it. So I think Barcelona's a little bit of a different club. But Manchester United could go out, and I think it's a major reset. Because if they go another bad manager now, if they go, Ruud van Nistelrooy is being put in interim charge right now, right? He goes and wins 3 games on a spin, and they give him the job like they did to Ollie. That is another recipe for disaster.
I think so too. And I think, I don't know exactly who they're playing, but I was listening to TalkSport this morning, and they were saying their next 4 games are bankers anyway. They should be winning them anyway. So, and I didn't even look at who they're playing, but Van Nistelrooy, though, to be fair, he won 2. How do you pronounce it? The Dutch league,
Eredivisie,
or whatever.
Yeah, the Dutch league. I couldn't say either.
It's not like he's got no experience.
No, but he's not there.
He should not be their next manager.
I agree. I think if you were going to go for an up and coming, you go and get Xavi Alonso, maybe. I doubt he's not going to do it because of Liverpool connection. Maybe he would. If I was a manager, I'd be scared to death of take Manchester United right now, because I think the club looks like a kiss of death.
Yeah.
Some big managers have tried.
Portugal, who Liverpool and West Ham were looking at last year.
Ruben Almiron, is it his name?
Yeah, he's been spoken about this morning.
Xavi has been spoken about.
I don't think that's a good move.
Neither do I.
No.
Didn't do amazing at Barca, did he?
Didn't do well at all, really, at Barca.
So they're the front runners, and obviously one that I think he doesn't want the job, but the main candidate I think they want is Gareth Southgate. Now,
that would be Christmas Day to me if they made him manager. That I would be. I would get over Ten Hag pretty quickly, because Southgate would be worse. I think
I do. The other one is Thomas Frank, Brentford manager. Again,
I like him.
I like him, but he's never handled that juggernaut. And I know you've got to give a chance sometimes, but I don't think they can give chances at this moment. I think they need.
They have to give time. They have to. So what I think
you're never going to get time in this day and age, because the fans, they've given time to Ten Hag. They gave Ten Hag so much time.
Jim Ratcliffe, old fucking lurch over there, he's a commercial man, right? That man's for what he has done in business, that man's a genius.
Yeah.
He understands that things are not gonna change tomorrow. He understands that. And so listen, not many people have the kind of brain that he has, but what I think he would say is, listen, we should have given somebody this time after Ferguson, and we didn't, because we thought we're like Real Madrid. And no clubs are like Real Madrid or Barcelona, where they just can flip things around every 6 months. I think they need to say to somebody, unless you're Ten Hag, and you've got us in the bottom half of the table, we're going to give you 4, even 5 years. If after there it looks like
They'll never do. No club is ever going to do that.
I don't know. I do.
No club, because if you gave Ten Hag 4 or 5 years, they'd be relegated.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So not Ten Hag, but
no, but I mean, he was the new man. So if you said, "Oh, we're going to give you 4 years," this guy is incompetent. He didn't have a plan.
But he also was never good.
No, like, but he'd been at Ajax. Just what I mean. He came in with a bit of
fanfare. United, though, he never looked. There was never a time when Ten Hag was manager of Man United where I was like, "Oh, Man United will come back."
No, but what I'm saying is the next man might come in and do exactly the same.
Right. Well, that's true.
And also, you're not going to. Even my point of you got to go and get a proven manager. That might not work either. But I actually, I'd love an experiment with Man United. If I was Jim Ratcliffe, and I'd be tempted to do it, is to say to some of the old boys, right, we're going to get a manager. We're going to bring in Roy Keane. We're going to bring in a few of you. And you're going to be the assistant manager. I would be inclined to almost put Roy in and reset the standards. Because there's no one better than him and Gary Neville at resetting them standards. Rio, any of them, right? Bring them in and say, is it Manchester United? We're going to reset and help a new manager to reset the standards. Now, whether that be Rude is the new manager, let's just say, but bring in them people and sit with Ineos and Ratcliffe and say to the fans, we are going to reset Manchester United. This is going to take time, but if we reset the mindset, like they've done at Arsenal and like Pep did at City. Okay, City had won the league, but Arsenal, Arteta has reset that mentality.
Okay, yeah.
And actually say, right, we're going to burn through some players, but we're going to bring in some players. We're going to bring in the academy like we've always done. But we are only bringing in the players. If you do not want to work, you want to piss around on social media, you want to do all that stuff, you won't play for Manchester United. You'll be sold. We might lose money on you. But I think if you set them standards again, like Pep does, that Pep doesn't take that messing around. No. You're gone.
No.
You're part of a machine that's going to make Manchester City win.
How many really, really good players did they get rid of just because they were not fully invested? The one that
or maybe they were fully invested, that he just felt had lost a bit. Like, let's say, look, Raheem Sterling, Zinchenko, Jesus, like, these are all still playing at top clubs. It's not because they were bad eggs or anything. It was because he felt that there was going to be a drop in their performance or something like that. That there'll be someone better.
Yeah.
And that was what Man United were. Ruthless. Yeah. Manchester United would not have bought Johnny Evans back at 36 years of age after letting him go 6 years previously or 7 years previously, whatever it was, to bring him back.
Would have happened. It would have been like them bringing Paul McGrath back after he retired from Villa.
Exactly. So Man United doing them sort of things. No disrespect, Johnny Evans is actually doing brilliant. But they wouldn't have made them decisions. Manchester United, under Fergie, would have gone and got Harry Kane and Declan Rice. That would have been they would have courted them. They would have gone.
They didn't do that. That makes no sense that they didn't do that.
Because I think they've gone so far away from what they were that they think of they're going to go and get out. Oh, we're going to go and get Anthony. We're going to go and get this. That'll be spend loads of money. Whereas they'll probably spend 80 million on Anthony to not spend 110 on Rice or Kane or something, and you kind of look and go, well, that would have reset your club, bringing in that mentality of player to kind of winners. But I think we'll follow Man United closely, but it's going to be interesting. Because I think they're at a very pivotal moment in that club.
Yeah, they are for sure. But I said that after Solskjaer as well, and I'll just enjoy it while it lasts.
Let's move on, and I want to recap a bit of the Premier League. Now, I'm going to say this weekend we had some good games, but the overriding theme was injury time goals.
There was
Nearly
a lot.
every
Wasn't there?
game Saturday was an injury time goal. I made a bit of a list here. So we had Brighton v Wolves to start. Oh no, first off, we started off on the Friday night game, Leicester versus Nottingham Forest. Forest got a 3-1 win. The Chris Wood is absolutely on fire. I think he became or he equalled Forest's all-time Premiership top goal scorer and record at the weekend. And I actually thought, that's incredible. Because again, people don't realise Nottingham Forest used to be an absolutely juggernaut of a team.
Yeah.
They've won the European Cup twice.
Twice.
So they won it back to back, I think.
No. I don't think they did. I might be wrong.
They won it back to back.
I think they skipped a year, but I might be wrong. But they won the European Cup, I think, 2 years after they were promoted to which then would have been the first division.
For a legendary manager named Brian Clough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just checking their European Cup here. Let's have a look. European Cup winners, 78, 79, 79, 80.
Oh,
back to back. I think they're one of the only teams to ever do it back to back.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So Forest, great win. They went up to 5th at the weekend. And again, I suppose that shows you a little bit of giving a manager time. Nuno Espirito Santos went in there when Steve Cooper got sacked. Didn't set the world alight at all. And then all of a sudden, they're playing some good football, Forest.
They are. They've got some good players, though, as well. And they spent a lot of money, Forest, too.
They did, and they've churned through a lot of players, because a lot of them players they bought in.
Who's their owner? Greek.
He's a Greek guy. He's shipping, isn't he, I think?
Bit of a nutcase.
Does he own Olympiacos as well?
What?
Does he own Olympiacos as well?
I don't know.
I think he owns another team, but they've seemed to have got it right. They play some good football. I tell you, they got some good players down there. And Chris Wood, as I say, he's not one of them big names, but I think he's scored 22 goals in 40-odd games. It's basically a goal every other game is what he's scoring at the minute. He scored 2 at the weekend, and I love to see it as well. One of their goals, big long ball from the keeper. Straight over the defender's head. Chris Wood knocked it in. So it is long ball. Football is still alive because Chris Wood scored a big oofer. A blinder it was.
If you lot wouldn't have sacked Big Sam, you might have been getting that kind of football still now.
Yeah, exactly. But no one wants these managers anymore.
Oh.
The Saturday games, though, we had Brighton v Wolves.
Yeah.
Wolves are rock bottom of the league. I feel for Gary O'Neill. I really like him.
Yeah, me too.
I really like I like him. He's honest. He looks like he loves it, but it's a bad time for him at the minute. I think they're struggling a bit. They sold Kilman. They sold Neto. They got good team, but I don't think they really replaced them two.
I don't think they'll get relegated, but they're
not looking good. But Brighton are a good side. Very good side. Again, young manager.
Was he 31?
Is it Hertzler? Is his name? I might have got that completely wrong.
Yeah. German fella, isn't he?
Yeah. They were 2-1 up. And then, I don't know if you saw it. So, Brighton are 2-1 up in the 95th minute. Brighton make a break. It's 4v1. He makes the pass. The centre-half steps out, intercepts the pass. Unbelievable. Whips it out to the right wing. And he goes on, scores with a deflection to level it up to 2-2. But but previous to that, Wolves had scored in the 90th minute from a corner to get sort of a consolation. But then the 95th minute, they done that. It was unbelievable. The centre half stepping up, they were dead. And the guy who gave the ball away.
Was it Leicester Southampton, was it?
The what? Sorry.
Leicester Southampton this weekend. Was it Leicester Southampton?
No, that was last weekend.
Not last weekend.
It
Okay.
was Leicester. We just covered that. It was Leicester Forest. I'm glad you was this weekend. I'm glad you were listening. You're a week
I was paying
behind.
attention.
Let me do the. I'll do the stats here. You just you stick to speaking about Liverpool here and there. Yeah, but yeah, no. So that was a good point for Wolves. They needed it.
Yeah.
They bottom of the league, and then
They still haven't won though, have they?
no, they're not. Like that was it. But away, I think they were at Brighton. That was a great. It was a. They needed that. Gary O'Neill needed it. Might give them a bit of belief. But the games kept getting madder, to be honest with you. Then Ipswich versus Brentford, and funny enough, Ipswich have got two sons of former Premiership players.
Oh, one of them scored.
Both of them scored, actually.
Both of them scored, did they?
So
really?
one of them was his debut, and it was it's Hurst is his debut, and his dad was David Hurst of Sheffield Wednesday.
No way.
And Liam Delap came on, and I think he scored 5 already this season. He's the son of Rory Delap, who is the legend for Stoke. If you don't know,
remember the Panini stickers?
Yeah.
That just reminds me of that era, the Panini stickers.
Yeah, for anyone who didn't know, you used to get a sticker book in England, Panini stickers, and you used to collect it, and you used to fill out all the teams. There used to be a shiny of the star player and all that, but they were brilliant.
You had your swaps, you go into school with a pile of them like this.
Big rubber band around it.
Like you'd swap out with your mates for the. It's like baseball cards, I suppose, right? It's
it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the two sons of so Rory Delap, Liam Delap's father, what was he best known for, Tone?
Rory Delap?
Yeah.
The throw-ins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to give context here, in the 2000s, there was a team called Stoke who, they're still going, Stoke, but
there still is a team called Stoke.
And Stoke were one of the old giants of football almost, like they were the old, like from the original football days. So
they're one of the founding clubs, Stoke.
They're one of the original clubs, I think, like the early clubs.
Yeah.
And there used to be, it was as football was getting a bit more technical, from changing from football to soccer, and they couldn't compete. They didn't have them players. So what they did is they built a team of giants. And this guy, Rory Delap, could throw a ball further than I can kick it. And he used to lob it in the area.
Nobody wanted to be throwing against Stoke in their own half.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially a corner. He'd throw it like a corner kick.
Exactly. So they'd throw it in from a corner. He'd throw it in like a corner. And then they'd have a load of big men just pounding it. And they were a brilliant team because of it. No, Arsenal hated playing Stoke, didn't they?
Yeah. Tony Pulis, wasn't it? Had a lot of trouble with Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
Wenger hated, like every single time they played them, Wenger would just be saying, "This is a rugby team. This is not a football team."
And that was, but they played to their skills.
Yeah, I mean, they built a team around exactly what they wanted.
Peter Crouch, I think, I heard it on his podcast. He said, like, the grass, they used to leave it really long.
Yeah, I saw that as well, yeah.
And they'd go, like, how do you play football here? And he said, in the air.
Yeah.
So people used to, they couldn't deal with it. So it was almost dark arts. I think they also, the away changing rooms were, like, terrible. They'd put the heating on really high. They were all these little dark arts to unsettle, like, these multi-millionaire footballers who weren't used to it.
Probably... obviously not modern day because this is a couple of decades ago, but a newer Wimbledon. Because Wimbledon do all that stuff as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the crazy gang.
The crazy gang, Vinnie Jones, Jean Fashanu. That was essentially a newer Wimbledon. But what's that saying? When people used to say, obviously when Messi was in his prime.
Could Messi do it on a cold night in Stoke?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Could he do it on a Wednesday night in Stoke?
It's become a football saying, isn't it? From that team. But anyway, Ipswich were playing Brentford this week, and it looked like Ipswich were going to get their first win. They went. Ipswich scored, I think, in the death in like the 89th minute. Liam Delap comes on to make it 3-3, and they had 10 men as well. A guy who was, I can't think his name, the right back it was, at his debut, he made an assist, scored an own goal, and got sent off and gave away a penalty. So it was a killer of a day for him. That was his debut. But Brentford went on in the 97th minute. Brian Mbeumo crossed the ball to the back post. No one touched it, and it went straight in.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, the keeper should have...
Boric, I think it is, in goal. It was terrible goalkeeping.
Ipswich hit the post about 30 seconds later.
Literally...
Goal back, by the way.
It was Delap again, hit the inside the post, didn't it? It was unbelievable. It would have been such a great goal. But the game was so exciting. They said to Thomas Frank after the game, "Is there ever a normal game here?" And he said, "No."
Did he really?
Yeah, but this, I've got to say, Brentford had let go, obviously, Ivan Toney in the summer. They haven't missed him at all, have they?
No, I mean, but they also didn't have him for most of last year either anyway.
No, so this Mbeumo, I think actually people missed out on. I think this guy might actually be the guy, and Wissa as well.
Yeah, this is what happens, isn't it? Teams like Brentford and Brighton, they buy these players, and teams like Liverpool and City and Arsenal and stuff like that, they're probably on the radar, but they're like, let's give him a couple of years in the Premier League, see how good he actually is, and then they spend an extra 25 million because they haven't had to do the experiment that Brentford and Brighton have done.
Yeah. But so Ipswich were hard luck again. Bournemouth scored in the 97th minute against Aston Villa to rescue a draw. I think probably Villa were a bit tired from midweek again, Champions League. But that's a good result. Bournemouth are a good team this year.
They're strong, yeah.
They just beat Arsenal last week. So
yeah, they're not gonna be the Bournemouth that we think. That we used to think where they're going to be fighting for relegation. They're going to be mid-table, I think.
Oh yeah, I do as well. I think his name's Iriola, the manager. I think he's done a really good job.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
He's doing well there. City, Southampton. City with a 1-0 win. Haaland again. Also, we didn't speak about them in the week. Steamrolled in Champions League as well. They had another big win in Champions League. See the goal Haaland scored in the week, Champions League.
Oh, with it was
unbelievable.
How's a man that big scoring that goal?
Yeah, and so he scores again with just pure power. To be honest with you,
and agility though, the agility's off the charts for him.
Yeah, and the guy was holding his shirt for Southampton, was holding his shirt and tore all the sleeve but he still powered through it. Like you've got to be holding someone tight. He tore it completely round there. City don't look great to me though. I've got to say, I found them very boring.
I've fallen into this trap before, and as a Liverpool fan, it just leads to heartbreak because you think that about City. You think they don't look as good as they did last year, and then they go and win 20 games on a run.
Well, the problem is they're not losing at the moment, and I think I heard the other day that they're like 40 games on the spin without a defeat.
Have they really? That doesn't surprise me.
I'm surprised because I don't know how that counts as like, obviously, unbeaten records. I think 43-44 is the most games unbeaten because it's Forest had it and then Arsenal beat it, I think. But in that Invincibles team beat it, like going on the next season. But yeah, I haven't heard it. It can't be that close. Maybe it's not 43 because I'm 43-44. I think is the thing. But
I also saw that they said City haven't been beaten in Europe for however many games, and then for some bizarre reason, and I don't know why, they were not counting.
They don't. I know what you're going to say.
Penalty shootout.
Penalty shootouts do not count in as a loss because it's not a loss in a game. it's ridiculous, really.
If you didn't win,
win the
then
game.
So does that not count as a win for Real Madrid then?
No. Well, it does and it doesn't. A win you can count, but the loss you don't. It's stupid. It actually goes down as a draw.
Maybe those 40-odd games included that game that they got beat by Real Madrid. I don't know.
They will definitely go with that. But yeah, no. So that's City, but they're still marching on. I don't think they'll definitely miss Rodri. Rodri, as I say, by the time this airs, is probably going to be Ballon d'Or winner. Or he's going to be the nomination. Like he's definitely one of the big nominations. Yeah. So
he deserves it as well. If he won it, he'd deserve it.
I think so. And then Chelsea won again, 2-1. Cole Palmer's pass. Oh my God! Yesterday it was unbelievable.
Best player in the Premier League, I think. Him.
He's exciting, isn't he? Yeah. We went through. I'm going to wrap up a little bit, but with Man United, West Ham, 2 awful teams, 2 awful managers. United should have been 6-0 up at half-time, and actually Ten Hag would have been a job today. Lopetegui changed it at half-time. We got the win. I don't think it was a penalty whatsoever. I think it was outrageous.
It wasn't a pen. They just ran into each other, basically.
It was pathetic.
But Ings is an old fox. He knows what he's doing. Like, he knows. He's been around the block, Ings. He knows what he's doing.
But that might be a jump start West Ham need. To be honest with you, I was hoping we lost so we could get rid of our manager. They were dubbing that game El Sacchio, and it didn't disappoint.
Hate him. Your mob hate him, don't you?
I do. I can't stand him. A lot of West Ham's fans want to give him time.
How much time?
I don't. I can see. I told from pre-season, I knew he was no good.
Yeah.
Just knew it. You could see there's no way of playing. We look bad. I don't even want to talk about West Ham. I'm that pissed off with it. Big game of the weekend was Arsenal-Liverpool. Your mob.
My mob, yeah, 2-2. 2-2. I was happy with the draw. I think Arsenal probably were a little bit the better team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I at the end, I was like, I'll take that draw. I'll take it, especially away. Slot still unbeaten. It was, you know what? Trent drove me crazy yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know why there were passes Trent is probably the best passer of the ball in the league, I think.
One off the world.
Not in the conversation. And there were 10-yard passes that were going straight into the Arsenal midfield. And it was almost like, and listen, I don't think this was the case, but it was almost like he just didn't care. His body language was just almost seemed like slumped and and then there was one instance where the ball went out of play, Arsenal throw-in, and Trent wasn't the closest player, but he was pretty close, and he had his back to the ball as it got thrown in. And I saw it and I was like, but that's kid stuff.
Yeah.
You should always, when a ball getting thrown in, you should always know where the ball is in the story, but especially when it's out of play. And then he did that pass for Salah. For Salah's goal.
It was an unbelievable pass as well, wasn't it?
He's a generational talent, that lad.
I've got to say, actually, also talking of passing and crossing, Declan Rice is free.
Yeah.
He actually done it twice because the one, what's his name, the guy who scored? Moreno? No. The guy who equalised for Arsenal, I can't actually think of his name because he's I've never really seen him before. But he was, I should have had it wrote down.
Went in front twice, didn't he?
He should have scored one. They missed it.
The first free kick, and then the second free kick is when he scored.
When he scored, but the ball that Rice put in both times was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He put in exactly the same spot both times. It was like
exactly the same.
People don't give. And I saw actually in the week before this game, apparently Arsenal fans are starting to get on Declan Rice's back a little bit, which that is crazy to me.
Why?
That.
Like what they do?
No, they want more from him, and like they're going forward. He's not doing this, not doing that, and it's like I don't know why people are obsessed with Dec going forward. It's like an obsession now. I think Graham Souness or someone said it. He needs more goals or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, does Rodri score a few more goals? Yeah, Rodri plays in a different side.
Does he score a few more goals, Rodri?
He does score. He scores some important goals. Well, Champions League final goal.
All goals, though.
He scores a few goals a year, Rodri. But I think Dec done well last year with scoring, but he's not a goal-scoring midfielder. He's not Frank Lampard. He's not Steven Gerrard.
No, exactly. And that's
he's a complete different ant. He's a Claude Makelele.
Yeah. I think because of, obviously, the price tag, which,
Yeah.
it's got nothing to do with him. But I think people expected them to kick on to be a Steven Gerrard, where he's just an all-action, crazy person who can do everything with his eyes closed. But that's unfair, especially now when, are there any midfielders who are like a Steven Gerrard or a Frank Lampard now?
I don't think so.
It's just not the game anymore, is it? Like it's
just
much
enjoy them for what they are. I've got to say, I've obviously seen lots of talent at West Ham. Declan Rice is by far heads and shoulders the best player I've ever seen at West Ham.
Better than Rio or Joe Cole or
all of them. I did Carrick very similar, but Dec I think is the best all round I have ever seen. Now, did those go on to be better? Frank Lampard, etc.
Oh, you're talking about at West Ham.
While at West Ham. Like they were, Rio was a raw product with us.
Yeah.
So they were different. Rio was much better at Manchester United. But just at West Ham, I think he was insane. How good he was. He led us, and you see what trouble we're in now because he is not in that middle.
True.
He carried us.
True.
And he never gets injured. But
Lee really before his peak, did he? I think Rice's last year at West Ham will probably be as good as his last year, well, as last peak year at Arsenal. He was that good at West Ham.
I don't think he was ever less than a 7 out of 10 at West Ham.
Yeah.
I watched every game he ever played for West Ham, and he was insane. I also love him. He comes across as serious, but yet he's always got a smile on his face. He's always a bit of has a little joke. Yeah. Works hard. I just love him. He gives so much to people, actually. And I just think, you know what? I said to someone the other day. He's the sort of boy you want your daughter to marry. He's never in any ag. He's not that guy. He's not Grealish, you know what I mean? But he's kind of smart. He gets on with his job. He gets in. A few West Ham fans had the needle when he went to Arsenal that he was singing the Arsenal songs and things like that. Get over it.
Wasn't it a London song that he was singing?
That North London Forever on his first day. So what? He wants to be a part of the new club he's at. Like fans, listen, he's not born and bred in West Ham.
Like, what do you want from
And I've seen obviously a lot of talk coming from Liverpool this week. I saw it discussed on Sky Sports about Trent maybe moving on. Yeah. I loved Roy Keane's comment. I thought it was brilliant.
About the loyalty in the dog.
It was so. If you haven't seen anyone, Carragher's banging on about loyalty, and obviously him and Steven Gerrard did that. And Roy Keane said, loyalty. He said, you want loyalty, get yourself a dog. Because I think his dig at was, well, I was loyal to Manchester United and they get rid of you in the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and because he said afterwards, and I know that from personal experience.
Yeah. And I wonder if they're going to come. It sounds like the Madrid are going to.
He did this interview this week and
Ballon d'Or.
What?
The Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, they gave him the 3 choices, right? And it was winning a trophy with England, I think. I think that was one of them. Captaining Liverpool or winning a Ballon d'Or. I might have got those wrong, but I know one of them was captaining Liverpool and one of them was the Ballon d'Or. And he said, well, I've already captained Liverpool. And as soon as he said that, because I watched it, it was a Sky Sports interview, I think. I watched it, and as soon as he said, I've already captained Liverpool, I was like, oh, he's gone. He's gone. Because he knows if he stays after Van Dijk eventually goes, which is probably another 2 years, maybe 3 at a push, but probably a couple of years, he's going to be the next Liverpool captain. And when he said that, I was like, oh, Because he also did an interview a few years ago where it was a big thing where he was like, my lifelong dream is to be Liverpool captain.
Yeah.
Big thing, like, and everyone was like, yeah, Trent's going to be our next captain after Van Dijk, blah, blah, blah. And then when he said, well, I've already done it because he captained them Liverpool when, Van Dijk was injured or suspended or whatever. And I was like, nah, I think he's gone. I think he's gone.
I think maybe he is, and look, I think we'll find out in the time coming up. We probably haven't got enough time to go through it. I think we'd probably be enough. That's going to be repeated, I think, in a few more episodes.
Yeah.
I was going to finish with a segment, but I think maybe we'll have to. We'll finish with it quickly, and we won't go into it as much detail as I was going to, because this episode's gone on a little bit longer than I thought because of the Ten Hag, and the Ballon d'Or. So we've spent a bit more time on other stuff. So I think there was some news this week, which is the most soccer news going, and it is Barcelona. Not scheduled, but are trying with Atletico Madrid to play their game in December in Miami.
Yeah.
Now, I've read a lot of reports on this. There's one in The Athletic, there's a couple in the Times, there's one in Forbes, where there's a guy in America really pushing for this. But Barca and Atletico are very much behind it as well. They tried to do it years ago. They think December might actually be too quick of a turnaround. But this is... the minute they do it, you're going to see the Premier League clubs do it as well.
Probably. I hope not. I really do, because let's say it's Liverpool, Man United who do it right. Whichever team it is. Not even one team, but one set of supporters loses a home game.
Yep.
Right away. And I actually heard Jamie Carragher say this. What if Barcelona come up? So Barcelona apparently are the home team. It's their home fixture, right, that they're going to try and swap out for Miami. What if Barcelona lose this game or draw this game and then end up losing the league by a point to Madrid or even Atletico Madrid, which I guess would be even worse? There'd be uproar. It'd just be crazy. I think the thing that makes the most sense is having the the community shield over here for English clubs, because nobody really cares that much about it. It's also always at a neutral venue. It's always at Wembley, but it's still competitive.
Here's my thing.
It's not a friend.
Where I think this is all heading, and if this goes ahead. And you said it about Barcelona lose the league. At one point, they won't give a shit because of the extra revenue that's coming in, that the league title will, just like in America, league titles are secondary to revenue. And I think
that's true.
I think
yeah,
we'll get to that stage when it's the Premiership then being played abroad. And then what will come next is a Super League, where now we've lost everything.
Yeah, and the Super League, I think, is inevitable. I think it's probably...
And if that happens, the Super League happens, football is finished.
Yeah, it is, because there's no... The way we went to games when we were kids wouldn't be able to do that with a Super League.
Human greed needs to be kept in order here, clubs. And I know Americans are going to say, well, we're fans of soccer as well. We want that over here. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's not yours. You got to come and watch it. Pay to come to England, come and watch it.
And also, there are teams here to support.
Exactly. Support your teams here and make the teams in America much better. This MLS could be great. I watched it the other day. It plays at such a slow pace. It's poor.
It's poor, yeah.
Listen, it's getting better. They got a lot of fans, but the problem is here. There's no relegation. There's all these playoff games. That's what they don't care. American owners and Americans are so used to it because it's all they've ever seen. They don't care about the product. They care about loads of it, more money. It's what it's about. And unfortunately, that's where English sports has always been different. European sports has always been different. And there is consequence to doing bad. Like Manchester United, as we say, their revenue is going to drop off. Manchester United will not be one of the biggest clubs in the world, given another 2 years, 3 years of no Champions League, etc. So there's a huge, huge consequence. And I think this game by Barcelona, because if Barcelona and Madrid do it, because apparently in Spain, a lot of fans don't travel away anyway. Only a couple of hundred Atletico and Madrid fans travel every week. So it's not like the community of, apparently after reading the Athletics article, Barcelona obviously are not playing at Nou Camp at the moment, and half their season ticket holders never renewed their season ticket because it's across Catalonia. They opted to watch it on the TV instead. So in Spain, obviously, it's a little bit different to England, Italy, Germany, even Poland, etc., things like this. But I think we're on a slippery slope, and everyone's going to say, well, I want my clubs to have more money. But unfortunately, the devil is at work somewhere.
You know what? That's exactly right. I completely agree with that. Everybody wants their team to have the best players, more money, sign whoever, whenever they need to, will complain when they don't sign.
Yeah.
Enough. They don't spend enough money, essentially. But then when it comes to the commercialization of it, which is essentially what is what generates the money, then we all start crying about it. We can't have it both ways. We can't.
And that's exactly it. So I think commercialization has taken over. We've seen it. We're seeing it in the English game right now. It's already every week a club announces a new track top, a new warm-up top, all these things. And actually the designs are getting better and better and better. Like, I actually looked at Newcastle this week and I thought, God, that looks good. Arsenal's got the retro ones. And you look and go, they're cool. So the kids are going, I want one of them. That's what it's done for. Okay. I think there's got to be a cap for the integrity of our sport. We've got to say, unfortunately, yes, we want American fans. We want worldwide, Chinese fans, Asian fans, wherever. But we're not going to go that far. But the problem is when you've got this amount of American owners who are used to doing that, they are going to be pushing. And the minute one does it, the rest will go.
They will. I mean, because they're going to have to, otherwise they'll be left behind. But and I know we want to wrap up. But do you think though, the owners of the American teams want English teams coming over here? I don't think they do. I think that hurts the MLS. But like if Liverpool...
I just read this. Apparently the MLS owners don't really want it because it's diluting the MLS.
Exactly. It's going to take attention away from the thing that's on the doorstep, the local product. If Liverpool are playing Man United down the road and LAFC are playing LA Galaxy, LAFC and LA Galaxy is going to be empty. No one's going to go. They're going to go watch Liverpool, Man United, or City and Arsenal, or whoever. So I don't know whether I think there'll be a little bit of pushback from the MLS, from the owners of those clubs, and I hope there is, because I don't want to see it.
No, me either. I'll be devastated if it happens. I know the flip side, the Americans would say, well, you get our NFL and you get our NBA. Okay, you should have pushed back on it further.
Yeah, but they also have like 500 games a season.
Yeah, look, because there'll be some that say, well, that's not fair because I don't get to go. You get to steal this and things like that. Then, as fans, you should have walked out.
Should have pushed back. Yeah.
And if the fans walk out like they did with the Super League, they realise that owners don't own clubs. And I saw an article that said these deluded English fans think that the owners don't own the clubs. The fans still do. Trust me, when the fans stop going, they realise.
Then the owners will listen.
And when the fans in England storm on the pitch and smash the ground up,
they then go. They did it at United, right? That's where they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Ham.
Before the Liverpool game, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Ham have done it. Got on the pitch, smashed, went to directors, try and get them. They're not. These are not nice scenes, but sometimes football needs a pushback to say, "Hey, you're a custodian. You're not a."
Hey, you're just here for the short term.
Yeah.
My
We're here
grandkids
forever.
will be watching this team.
Yeah.
No.
But I think so. Before we wrap up, I think we got a winner of our Gaza shirt, and the winner of the Gaza shirt, who followed us on everything and he's been commenting a lot actually, is Benjamin Hudson. His Instagram is benjamin.hudson.7967. I know Benjamin from his messages is a Man United fan and he's hurting as well at the minute. So I think getting a Gaza shirt is actually going to cheer him up a bit. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. I think add in all on the socials. I'd say you can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify and Apple. Please give us a little rating after you've listened to this. Help us go up the charts. Subscribe to our YouTube. Leave a little comment. Anything you want us to discuss, message us.
Yeah, message us, guys, and thanks everyone for listening. And nice one on the Gaza shirt, Benjamin.
Yeah, Gaza, he's got it. He's got it. So, and that, I want to say, courtesy of our friend, my good friend, Stoey. So he's at StoeyX on Instagram. Go on to him. We're going to do more giveaways next week. We haven't got time to even do it now because I'm scared that we're boring you too much. But it's so obviously longer episode today. I've also got a couple of guests lined up as well. I've not even told Tony yet, so we'll discuss that. But we're going to add in some extra episodes for you. Thanks so much. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.